Hello, my name is DJ Generic and welcome to KVRX 91.7 FM, HD1 and HD2. As always, KVRX is in accordance with federal law and FCC regulations confines the broadcast of indecent material to between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Sensitive listeners and children are advised to tune out during this time.
KVRX is supported by Ashwell Sexual Health and Wellness, a queer and trans-friendly clinic located right next to the UT campus. Ashwell provides access to PrEP, the pill that prevents HIV and Hep C treatment, and for regular patients, access to STI testing and gender care. Ashwell is located in Suite 3 at 3100 Red River. More information at ashwellatx.org.
KVRX is supported by Beacon Biologics. Every day, thousands of people are diagnosed with cancer, autoimmune disease, and other life-threatening illnesses. Beacon Biologics, a new non-profit organization in Austin, supports these patients through white blood cell donations, which are used by scientific and medical researchers to discover and pioneer groundbreaking treatments that help patients around the world. You can be a beacon of hope and help in the fight against cancer and other rare diseases by donating white blood cells with Beacon Biologics. For more information, visit beaconbiologics.org.
All right. Hello one and hello all. Welcome to Book Club with me, esteemed book author and reader, DJ Generic. See, for my last few shows, I've carried the burden of writing pages upon pages of scripts, waking up at 5 a.m. on Friday every week for the last year. For my first show, I was able to take a more silly yet spooky look with my hit series Morning Glories. Then I went further and tried to make a connecting narrative with my previous show Close the Open Eye. But you know what I realized while typing away at midnight every week? This sucks. As much of a fun writing exercise it was, I despised having to pump out inconsistent and often awful pieces of work every week to meet a deadline I made for myself. I mean, really, being a one-man radio show play, curating playlists and making sound effects. The most fun I had was when I had another person in the booth during the last episode of Close the Open Eye, or when I got to let loose and just do improv. So for now, those projects are on the side, and instead I'll be reading and discussing other books, or other people's books. I need a little more inspiration for my own projects, and I believe reviewing and reading more pieces of literature will be a good way for me to get back into the cycle of writing I've gotten myself out of. So, you may be wondering, what possibly could be our first book in this perplexing series of readings? Well, I'm a geek. A nerd, if you will. I enjoy video games. A ridiculous amount. And so, for our first book, I'll be reading the lore and helping you understand the world of the critically acclaimed video game series, Destiny. I apologize. For those unaware, which is everyone, probably, Destiny is essentially a first-person looter shooter where you play as a guardian, someone imbued with the power of light and revived from death, which essentially means you can utilize elemental powers and such. We'll get into more as we read, but I figured that this series, or more so the Destiny Grimoire series, which spans about 6 books as of recording, because this series means a lot to me. I started playing Destiny 2 back in middle school, and have been with it ever since. I graduated middle and high school playing that game. And will probably graduate college doing the same. Hell, one of my dogs is named after a character from the game. Which, hi kid, hi mamas. Sorry, my mom and our dogs who may be listening need to say hi. Either way, this series has been something I've stuck with for a long time. I've met great people through it. I've spent entire days of my life playing it, and as of writing this script, I've spent a total of 924 hours playing this game, which is equal to about 38 days straight. So yes, I've spent a lot of time with this game. Have I enjoyed every second? No. But do I love the story and world of it all? Yes. This is why I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. I hope you enjoy as I introduce you to this world. With light, darkness, aliens, sentient interplanetary AIs, and in the middle of it all, us. Welcome to Destiny and the Destiny Grimoire. I also hope you enjoy the accompaniment of the various Destiny soundtracks, primarily composed by Michael Salvatore, but made with the help of dozens of others. I'm DJ Generic, and you're listening to KVRX 91.7 FM, HD1 and HD2. Today, we'll be covering the first chapter of the Grimoire anthology, the Book of Sorrows. I'll be reading all the pages, including forewords, introductions, all that. Destiny universe created by Bungie. To our community, you've become the main characters in the stories we tell. You've filled our worlds in with your light and your friendship. Thank you for your passion for our games and for each other. Most of all, thank you for playing. Forward. The stories tell of a golden age, when our civilization spanned the system. It was a bright and hopeful time, but it didn't last. With these few words, the first delicate seeds of a universe were sown. Many hands had already begun to nurture the primordial ideas and form the bedrock of a world. Many, many more would soon come to lend themselves to the task of tending to what would become vast and varied gardens of story, and of names and places springing forth from the fundament. Some grew, some grasped for light, blossomed, and as human creations so often do, many of our world's myths and monuments fell to ruin. And now, here you are in the midst of 1,000 radiant roses and ruinous ends. Within this anthology is a selection of voices, the fictional, but very much living characters that have witnessed the collapse of an age, yet goad and strive to shape a future to their own design. These tales too are only just a beginning. As you read, you may detect 1,000 more stories to come, dormant, hidden deep within the fertile soil. They'll whisper and grasp and dare to take root in your imagination to inspire you not only with what is revealed and implied by these words, these pages, these works, but to allow you to imagine what may yet emerge. Each new revelation may itself be a seed to sow, nurture, and tend in the shaping of worlds to come. Bungie. Introduction. I've always felt that this world contains secrets, forgotten stories waiting to be discovered. However, like many players, I first ignored that feeling, just perused precious loot. It was only after my vault was full and my enemies defeated that I asked why. Why am I doing this? So it began. I read the journals of defeated enemies, the memories of a dying ghost, the etchings on the barrel of a weapon, and realized there was much more to this world. I became not only a player, but a storyteller, a chronicler of Destiny's history, infusing my discoveries with my own perspectives and interpretations. Weapons were no longer just weapons, armor no longer just armor, and enemies no longer just targets. Understanding the lore of Destiny complemented and enhanced the gameplay. Pulling the trigger now had weight. Rockets howled with the sacrifices of fallen guardians. I was not the first, and I will not be the last. Many others have been inspired by the history and fiction of Destiny, piecing together fragments of the Destiny universe in their own way. Some stories are hidden, misleading, deceptive, and still fiercely debated. This anthology does not set out to solve these disputes, but instead entice you to join the conversation. Destiny Grimoire Anthology Volume 1 Dark Mirror is about your path as a guardian and the haunting temptation of the dark. The collection of lore entries that follows challenges you to see this world through different perspectives. The vanquished, the corrupted, and the shattered. It does not represent everything, but rather presents a version of events told by the many characters, through many eyes. The truth is for you to decide. From a fellow guardian. Chapter 1. A Book of Sorrow. What is this violent ritual? These tales of suffering, where all ends in a feast of maggots and rot laid on a wormwood table for gods to feast on misery. But is not the light also served by savage sacrifice? Accepted wounds, blood spilled on the dust of distant worlds. Life and death, and life and death, and life and death are locked in a battle that never ends. The cycle is the same. The pain is the same. We eliminate those who oppose the light. They annihilate those who do not worship the dark. In the end, only sorrow remains. Verse 1-0. The Fundament. Dearest sister, it's taken me 2 years, a quarter of our lives, but I found proof. We aren't native to the Fundament. Our ancient ancestors came here to hide. The plate of stone we live on, our osmium court, is one fragment of a rocky planet that crashed into the Fundament and broke apart. All the other nearby continents, the helium drinkers, the bone plaza, the star cutters, came from the same world. Perhaps the other races of the Fundament are migrants too. We live on the shrapnel of our homeworld, floating on an ocean deep inside a gas giant. That's what the Fundament must be. A titanic gas planet. The endless storm above us must be one layer of the atmosphere, and the sea we float on. There's more down beneath it, so much more. You understand what this means, Sithona. The timid truth is a lie. We aren't meant to be the world's play. We weren't born to live and die in the dark. We have a better destiny. Tell our father, Sister Sithona, this is the proof of his life's work. With love, for your second birthday, your first surviving sister, Urash. Verse 1-1. Predators. Predators and menaces. Carved to endure by Zero, third surviving sister of the Osmium King's last brood. A Stormjoy. Stormjoy is a living cloud. When it passes over our continent, it lowers its feeding tentacles. On each tentacle are the bait stars. Although light makes you happy, you must avoid it. You will be eaten. A storm joy is a good way for an old person to choose death. Also, a daring knight can cut the bait stars from the tentacles. I have 6. Falling. If you fall off the edge of the continent, you will die in the ocean. This is a special hazard when our father, the Osmium King, uses the engines. Helium drinkers. The currents of the fundament ocean bring us near other continents. The helium court is near us now. They are of our species, but they are our enemies. Their knights raid us every day. Helium drinkers have 2 legs, 2 arms, and 3 eyes, just like us. But they are bright, evil. I want to be a knight and fight them. The helium drinker ambassador ate 10 of my sisters as tribute. This is normal. However, I resent it. Mothers. Mothers can fly. They live much longer than 10 years. Mothers are extremely smart, and they guard their spawn. If you try to tamper with the eggs, they will eat you. Zathona wants to eat the jelly of a mother and become a mother herself when she turns 4. Storms. The rain is often poisonous. Sometimes it dissolves flesh. When lightning misses the lightning farm, it can vaporize a person. This entire world is deadly to us. Mysteries. The fundament is very large. We are the smaller things in it. If you don't understand something, it will probably kill you. My teacher Tao says this is why we have such short lives, so we can breed and adapt quickly. Moon waves. My sister Orash is afraid of moon waves. When she gets back from her expedition to the tungsten monoliths, I will ask her why. So, as of now, we know of 3 sisters. Zero, Orash, and Zathona. These aliens who live on a seemingly broken planet where they are alive simply to die. They live for 10 years and croak soon after. Verse 1-2, the hateful verse. For the consideration of the Helium Court, written in desperation, this sealed secret. I am Tao, sterile mother, teacher to the children of the Osmium throne. As a mother, I live long. As a neuter, I can rise above the small battles of court politics. I alone see the patterns of survival. Alone, I design the great engines that move the Osmium court. Now, alone, I must act to save my kingdom. Senility has claimed my lord the Osmium King. He is 10 and mad. The study of ancient texts consumes him. Today he raves about moons above the storm. Tomorrow he will wander the halls, speaking to his familiar, a dead white worm from the deep sea. He keeps it in glass and he tends to it, and he neglects the duties of a king. The Osmium King has 3 surviving heirs, each 2 years old. Zero, the youngest and bravest, who wants to be a knight. Zathona, most clever, who wants to be a mother. Orash, navigator child, who dreams of the infinite ocean. Tomorrow she will return from the tungsten monoliths. None of these are suitable heirs. None of them will protect the Osmium court from the howling fundament. Zero can fight, but not lead. Zathona can think, but not fight. Orash's curiosity will draw her away from duty. I fear for all future children. Soon the Osmium King will lock himself into the royal orrery to study the moons. Gather your knights, O helium drinkers, and invade our continent. Kill the 3 heirs. I will rule the Osmium court as your regent and build engines for you. And if I fail, let the Leviathan in the deep eat me. Written in grief, this hateful request. Tao, Osmium mother, neutered to watch. Verse 3. the oath. Sisters, this is how an oath is done. Put your left hands on the mast, close to mine. Take the knife in your right hand. Push it through your left hand, straight between the bones. Now, carve a bloodline down the mast. Speak your oath. I am Zero, youngest daughter of the dead king. I will take back my osmium court and kill the traitor Tau. On my left eye I swear vengeance. In blood the oath is made. I am Sathona, middle daughter of the dead king. I will take back my home and eat the mother jelly. I will raise my spawn on the corpse of the Helium King. On my right eye I promise this. In blood the oath is made. Now, I will help you make your oath, sister. I will help it too. I am Orash, first daughter of the dead king. I will chase my father's last screamed warning. I will know what changed the motion of our moons. If the end of the world is coming, I will understand why. On my center eye I swear it. I will understand. In blood the oath is made. In blood. Thank you, sisters. We have only my ship left to us. But the ship is freedom. We have secrets to hunt, stormlit realms to explore, and great armies to raise. Put up the lightning sails, and we will voyage far. Verse 1-4. Syzygy. The Syzygy, carved to endure by Orash, the High Vengeance. Only Zero's bait stars let us escape. Only Sathona's tricks let us reach the coast. But now that we have my ship, I must lead the way. I am the navigator. We may never see our homes again. Zero seethes with hate and fury for Tau. But this is my deepest fear. Our civilization drifts on the fundament. With the tungsten monoliths, I learned that thousands of other species drift with us, coexisting on a vast world sea. And the tides of the fundament move us all. The timid truth says that we are the smallest, most fragile things alive, the natural prey of the universe. Tau would have us believe that our ancestors came to the fundament to hide from the hungry void. My father died afraid, not of vile Tau or the helium drinkers, but of his orrery. He screamed to me, "Orash, my first daughter, the moons are different, the laws are bent." And he made the sign of a syzygy. Imagine the 52 moons of the fundament lining up in the sky. It wouldn't take all 52, of course, just a few massive moons. But this is my deepest fear. Imagine their gravity pulling the fundament sea, lifting it into a swollen budge. Imagine that bulge collapsing as the syzygy passed, a wave big enough to swallow civilizations. A god wave. I have to find a way to stop it. Before the god wave annihilates my species. If I could only get back to my father's orrery, I could learn exactly when. We are weeks of travel and many continents away from home. When I'm paralyzed by fear, Zero sits in the cabin with me and comforts me with soft, brave words. But more and more we have come to rely on Sathona's wit. She will go off to be alone. She insists she must be alone. And return with some mad idea. Steer into the storm, throw down a net, and eat that strange beast, explore that menacing wreck. Somehow Sathona seems to manufacture good luck by sheer will. So, for those who don't know, a syzygy is essentially when a bunch of planets line up. You know, when they say the stars have aligned. It's a literal version of that. And since apparently this fundament, this planet that these three sisters and their race live on, is essentially just this churning sea that throws these giant land masses around, these continents. All these moons aligning, creating a syzygy, would pull their tides to one spot directly, and once that syzygy's over, it would create a massive god wave that would seemingly wipe out everything on the planet, killing billions upon trillions of life forms. And so Orash is going to try and find a way to stop it. But it seems something's wrong with Sithona. Verse 5. Needle and worm. My secrets, carved in my code by Sithona. The right eye vengeance. 1. This year of wild voyaging, these lightning nights and golden days, these forays into ancient wrecks and windblown flights from monsters. These are the happiest times of my life. 2. I want to be another mother, not because I want to spawn, but because I want a long life. Long enough to make a difference. We have been at sea a year, and I am afraid. Afraid we will die out here. 3. I know where to find secrets. I know where vast, slow things with long memories live. 4. The Needle Ship. The Needle Ship, carved in my code by Sithona. A liar. We salvaged the needle from the Shruvi Maelstrom. I knew it would be here. 2. The needle is a gray ship, as long and slender as hope, as unbreakable as time, and older than death. It tumbled through the Maelstrom before our ancestors crashed into the fundament. This is not a sea ship like Orash's. It is an artifact of high technology. 3. I know its purpose. I know what happened to the crew. 4. Zero wants to sell the ship at Kaharn Atoll, where species gather. At auction, it would earn us enough wealth to hire mercenaries. We could retake our Osmium court and send the baby-eating helium drinkers screaming into the ocean. 5. But I told Zero the ship was worthless. 6. Orash wants to open the ship and see if we can take command of it. I know this is the right thing to do. I know because I asked the worm. The worm, carved in my code by Sithona, who should be afraid. It was my father's familiar. I ripped it from him as we fled. It is a dead white thing, segmented, washed up from the deep sea. It's dead, but it still speaks to me. It says, listen closely. Oh, vengeance mine. Verse 1-6. Sisters. A register of tokens and gestures exchanged before the end of sisterhood. Zero, my brave sister. You have worked too hard to move the carcasses out of a birthing room. Come, steer the ship for a while. Take joy in what our needle can do. Zero tried to protest, but secretly she was so glad for Arash's care. She flew the needle ship in cutting circles, down beneath the sea, and their wake rose up to the surface like a trader's dying breath. Orash, lonely navigator, we have traveled so long with only each other. I know you love to hear and speak new tongues. Come sit in the flesh garden room. I will read you these stories I bought in Kaharn. Orash sat among the mummified flesh fans with two of her eyes closed and listened in silence to Sithona's stories. hungry to understand, voracious to know as much as she could before her 10-year life ended. Later, Zero said, "Sathona, cutting mind of ours, you grow lonely in your thought. Play swords and lanterns with me." But Sathona was heavy with sorrow. She couldn't pretend any joy as she chased Zero through the needle's glistening halls. "Sathona, pensive one, what is it? What troubles you?" Her sisters listened as Sathona said, "Oath-bearing siblings, we are 5 years old. For 2 years we've worked to repair this ancient ship and understand its systems. I am almost too old for the Mother Jelly, and the knights who killed our father are surely dying of age. We 3 will die here in exile. Tau will outlive us. And Orash, brilliant-eyed Orash, you will die of old age long before you have proof of your God wave, or any way to stop it." Orash and Zero looked at each other. "I wish you weren't so honest," Zero said. And Orash thought that Sathona had never been wrong. In her soul, Orash knew that the only way to keep their oath was to find a great, powerful secret. A secret that could change everything. This was Orash's soul, her fire and her shadow, her desire to cut through the flank of the world and find its beating heart. "We have to dive," Orash said. "That's what the ship is built to do. Dive into the fundament, the world below us, toward the core. That's where the ancient crew died so obscenely," Zero protested. "That's where the atrocity in the birthing room was born." "We have to dive," Sathona said, following the whispers of her familiar. "In the world beneath us, in the metallic depths, I hope we may find what we need most. More time. More life." It seems that some way, somehow, our sisters have found their purpose. Now let's see where this dive will lead them. For life, Sathona dove. For vengeance, Zero dove. And Orash dove to understand. The needle ship pierced the skin of the world and burrowed deep. Through layers of foam and metal and cold elemental slush, Orash devoured the ship's maps of fundament, from the high angelic cloud decks, down and down through storms and oceans and plates of floating world, into the crush of the core. They met monsters of continental scope, vast anemones that raised glowing tentacles to bait them in. Zero flew the needle ship through them, and they bled black carbon jelly and frost. They came to a still place, beneath a plate of metal. "I'll use the sensors," whispered Orash. "Listen." In the wet gold dark of the helm, they listened to the ship. And the ship listened to the crushing motions of the fundament. They heard the collision of continents. They heard the patter and the crash of helium neon rain. They heard the struggles of monsters. And they heard the distant groan of the ocean rising, tugged by distant moons. "The syzygy is real," Sathona hissed. "It's already begun." Behind them, Zero thought of the birthing room, where ancient explorers had labored over surgeries and administrations, peeling back the chrysalis and the call of that which they made from the deep whose birth none of them would survive. "There's something down here," she whispered. "Something secret." And the Leviathan loomed over them. Its brow is huge, all the continents of their childhood. Its great array fins crackling with the lightning of its life. Booming into the hull of the needle ship came a crackled, dead, rotted voice.
"You must turn back. Save yourselves from the deep. Save the world from yourselves. You must turn back."
Verse 1:8. Leviathan. The Leviathan's warning.
"We live on the edge of a war between formless and form, between the deep on the sky. My eyes are wide and my gaze is long. Across the universe, as far as I see, the sky works to change its size, and the deep clouds the ash. The sky builds gentle places, safe for life. The love fundament, refuge for trillions. The sky treasures this rich place. But the deep is here with us. Cold logic tests our walls. The deep claims its dominion. A ruthless, final age.
Orash's protest. Old Leviathan, creature of myth, this world is no refuge. We live short, hard lives. We die in the dark. The storm above us will never end, and soon the God wave will take us all. Above us there are only storm joys, monsters, and moons of apocalypse. Let us go down, down where we may discover the truth. Some power to avenge ourselves upon our betrayers, some hope of survival." The Leviathan's hope.
Your power calls you down to the deep. Your instinct draws you away from high hope. Quick-breathing coral people, I tell you, for eons I've watched your struggle. Cling to the sharp edge of survival. Balance between the deep and the sky. You were my treasure, my proof against despair. For this is the deep claim. Existence is the struggle to exist. When the struggle seems lost, when the safe place crumbles, everything turns to the deep to survive. I reject the deep claim. We will turn back, sweet crow of hope. We will choose the sky instead.
Zero's protest. You are huge and old. Our lives are short and desperate. If that's the way the world's supposed to be, I won't have it. If people like Tao are supposed to win, I won't let them. I'll beat the world until it changes. I'll kill anything in the way. The Leviathan's dirge.
This logic. Hear my moral swim. We will consume you. The food lies. The worship of death. The war's path. The side builds new life against the outside ruin. Towards a gentle world. The deep embraces death, saying, this is inevitable right. I exist as hungry will. Turn back from the road to the road, where you will live as death and devastation. The sky is the hallway that beats this thunder. My charge is balanced. My voice exhausted.
Sathona's protest. Sisters, I have my father's familiar. Look, it answers me in plain words. It helped me find this ship. It gives me strength when hope is lost. Who will you trust? The voice that wants us to live and suffer as we have lived and suffered? The Leviathan that offers no hope against Tau or the world wave? Or the plain, honest worm? Let us see where its whisper leads us, Orash. Let us go deeper, Zero. Let us dive, O sisters of mine. Verse 1-9. The bargain. You are Orash, heir to the osmium throne. You stand on the naked hull of an ancient ship. You stand exposed to the crushing pressure and ferocious heat of the deeper fundament. It should annihilate you. It is by my will alone that you survive. I am Yule, the honest worm. Behold my passage. Behold my vast displacement, my ponderous strength, my great and coiling length, my folded jaws and curled wings. Behold the hiving cities symbiotic with my flesh. I am Fecundarash. I am the beginning and end of lives. Behold Air, and Zol, and Ur, and Akka, the virtuous worms. Look upon us and know that we are good. We are God. For millions of years we have been trapped, growing in the deep. From across the stars we have called life to fundament, so that it may contend against extinction. For millennia we have awaited you, our beloved hosts. Against you stand the cruel Leviathan and all the forces of the sky. They would crush you down into the dark. They have arranged their moons to drown you in fear of your potential. We want to help you, princes. We offer to each of you a bargain, a symbiosis. Take into your bodies our children, our newborn larvae. From them you shall obtain eternal life. From them you shall gain power over your own fragile flesh. The power to make of it as you will. And you, should you find an imperfection in the world, an injustice or an inconvenience, you will have the power to repair it. Let no mere law bind you. We ask one thing in exchange, O princes. You must obey your nature forever. In your immortality, Arash, you may never cease to explore and inquire for the sake of your children. In your immortality, Zero, you may never cease to test your strength. In your immortality, Sathona, you may never abandon cunning. If you do, your worm will consume you. And as your power grows, O princes, so will your worm's appetite. But we offer eternity, Arash. We offer you a chance at the universe. Would you deny your people infinity? Reach up to me. Let my flesh be your sacrament. KVRX, in accordance with federal law and FCC regulations, confines the broadcast of indecent materials to between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Sensitive listeners and children are advised to tune out during this time.
Do you have an essay that needs restructuring?
Do you find yourself wondering what a good thesis looks like?
Do you really know what a semicolon is for?
If this is you, you might need the University Writing Center. At the Writing Center, you can find a consultant that's a good fit for you. We use our tried and tested, non-directive, non-evaluative approach, improving your writing on your time and in your way.
Side effects may include a more efficient writing process, open-mindedness, grammar improvements, heightened brainstorming, and awareness of your writing style. Please check with your professor to see if the University Writing Center is right for you.
KVRX is brought to you in part by ATX Chamber Music and Jazz. The season opens stateside at the Paramount with Grammy Award-winning Time for Three on October 6th, followed by a second concert at Pershing Hall on October 7th. Austin's artistic spirit will be celebrated at Time for Three's intersection of Americana, modern pop, and classical music. Tickets and more information at atxmusic.com.
Welcome back to Book Club on KVRX 91.7 FM, HD1 and HD2. I will admit I might need to up my pace or more properly structure my my readings, as I expected to get all the way through verse 2 of all of this book of sorrows that we were covering. To give you an idea, as I mentioned before, and hopefully mentioned with each verse, it would be verse 1:7 or verse 1:8. We got all the way up to verse 2:0. We haven't read that one yet, but we read verse 1:9. I expected to get all the way to verse 2:9. But obviously that will not be happening. So instead, I believe I'll structure it as a sort of analysis or just basic description, because I feel it is quite easy to get lost in all of this. To get lost in the language of it all, especially if you don't know much about Destiny, it's going to be hard for you to sort of just keep understanding what is going on consistently. But to give you an idea, or to give you a sort of recap, we have these three sisters, Orash, Zero, and Sathona. They live on this planet known as the Fundament. It is a constantly dying, threshing, rupturing planet that is essentially made up of this giant sea, where these large continent-sized pieces of land all thrash around in it, being moved and pulled by the many moons surrounding the planet. So, all these three sisters are the daughters of the king of their kingdom, the Osmium court. Their enemies are the Helium Eaters. One day, the teacher of these three sisters, Tao, reaches out to the Helium Eaters and goes, "Hey, if you come over to my kingdom and kill the king, who's getting old, I'll rule the kingdom for you and give you whatever you want. Kill his kids too. Make it easier." So, the Helium Eaters go and do just that. But, by sheer luck, or more so, the use of Sathona's cunning and Zero's bravery, and Orash's navigation, they escape. And then they find this ship. After years of working on it and looking around, they find this ship. The Needle, the Gray Needle. Its purpose from a long, long time ago, seemingly, possibly, a long-lost golden age. Its purpose was to dive into the Fundament, to study it, seemingly. So under the guise and direction of Savathun's familiar, a dead worm that rose up from the depths of the ocean, they dive. They do exactly that. And in it they find a Leviathan, a great giant creature who advises them to stop what they're doing and rise back up to the sky. But based on their prior experiences, the sky has only given them death, loss, destruction. It's not where they want to go. And so they dive deeper, 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 and deeper, until they find another worm. This time a great big worm, bigger than the Leviathan, bigger than anything they could have ever known. And its name is Yule, the honest worm. And in exchange for feeding its larva, forever quenching its appetite, they will give each of the three sisters, now referred to as princes, immortality. Orash must continue to understand, to learn. Zero must continue to test her strength, defeating everyone in her way. And Savathun must continue her trickery, never ceasing her cunning. And the more they feed these larvae, the more power they get. The stronger this appetite the larva has also gets. A seemingly endless feedback loop, where it will seemingly just get worse and worse and worse. Now, that's where our story ends today. These three sad, short-lived, meant-to-die children have become essentially gods. A god of war, a god of cunning, and a god of exploration. Though one of those titles won't stick for very long. All that and more next week on Book Club. I'd like to thank you all so much for joining in on the first episode. For those of you listening online or otherwise, thank you. This is definitely going to improve over time. This was very much a test run, but I'm very glad we could all do this, and I'm hoping that by next episode I will have my things together more so. For those of you who want to, the Destiny Grimoire Anthology Volume 1 is available online on both Amazon and the Bungie store. Usually it goes on sale for like $20-15, depending on where you can get it. You can get it used for even cheaper. But it's also just a very nice book to have. It's again, I'm a lore geek, but it's almost like a fake Moleskine kind of leather book. Makes you feel real official, all this like golden lettering. Very fanciful. I have like 4 of the volumes. But enough blabbering. I've been up for a while now, and I think it is time for me to go to sleep. So thank you again. I plan to play a lot more music outside of just the Destiny soundtrack, but I kind of got lost in the reading. Either way, this is going to be our probably first and only song tonight. This is Metal Heart by Drown God.
I will cut you down, break you apart, slay the core of your profane form across the stars. I will grind you down until the very spot cry for mercy. My hand shall relish, ending you here and
As I said, that was Metal Heart by Drown God. I want to thank you, everyone, really, again, for tuning in. I'm going to be playing sponsors early so I can get the 5-minute head start on going home, and since I also have to export all this audio. But yes, you all have a great night. Thank you so much. Or, God, great morning. It's 6 freaking a.m.
Supported by Beacon Biologics, every day thousands of people are diagnosed with cancer, autoimmune disease, and other life-threatening illnesses. Beacon Biologics, a new non-profit organization in Austin, supports these patients through white blood cell donations, which are used by scientific and medical researchers to discover and pioneer groundbreaking treatments that help patients around the world. You can be a beacon of hope and help in the fight against cancer and other rare diseases by donating white blood cells with Beacon Biologics. For more information, visit beaconbiologics.org.
KVRX is supported by Ashwell Sexual Health and Wellness, a queer and trans-friendly clinic located right next to the UT campus. Ashwell provides access to PrEP, the pill that prevents HIV and Hep C treatment, and for regular patients, access to STI testing and gender care. Ashwell is located in Suite 3 at 3100 Red River. More information at ashwellatx.org.